Good evening. It's your boy Ruin Cross. I hope everyone had a great day. I just got back from work and I decided to do an educational panel today on something that I feel like the black community, minorities in general, should be aware of, and this is logical fallacies. So, this chart right here, and this is just to say it, I do not own this chart. I did not create this chart. I'm using this chart as educational purposes because it helped me. And I will leave a link to the website that actually has this chart because it simplifies everything for you, as you see. And it comes with examples. I won't be doing too many examples on here. I probably won't do any examples. This is just introducing y'all to logical fallacies, right? So, first off, what is a logical fallacy? A logical fallacy is a flaw in reasoning. Logical fallacies are games or illusions of thought and are often used by politicians and media to fool people. So basically, this is just a mind game within communication that, mostly everybody, literally everybody uses this at some point in time, and you'll have a better understanding of this as I explain some of the logical fallacies. So let's continue. So the first one, which is on this graph, is the straw man. A straw man is misrepresenting someone's argument to make it easier to attack. So basically, for example, someone says, I don't like taking vitamin C. The other person replies, oh, so you like being sick. So that's misrepresenting the person's argument. All he said is he doesn't like taking vitamin C. It could be because he doesn't like taking, the taste of it, whatever the case is, and also there's alternatives to, vitamin C. You have elderberry that you can take, which does contain, does have vitamin C in it. You have sea moss, a bunch of other things, that you can take that will prevent you from getting sick. But this guy decides to jump the gun and say, hey, you just want to get sick because you don't want to take vitamin C. That's misrepresenting someone's argument because there is no empirical evidence to substantiate that claim. Because the guy did not say that out his mouth. He did not say that he enjoys getting sick. And that being the reason why he doesn't take vitamin C. This is a type of game that is common on YouTube. Mostly all of these that's on this list is games that are played on YouTube. So let's get to the next one. False cause. You presume that a real or perceived relationship between things mean that one is the cause of the other. So, for instance, right? Let me give a decent example. All right, it rains for 1 day. All right, you don't see a pigeon come out. There's this pigeon that comes out every day. You don't see it that day. So now you just assume because it rained that it caused the pigeon not to come outside. Now, that is a logical fallacy, and that is a false cause because there's no empirical data to substantiate that claim. And also, birds have flown out when it was raining, because you didn't see the specific bird that you see every day, you assume that the rain stopped it from flying around. Maybe it passed away. Maybe it was sick. Maybe there could have been a bunch of other things. But you jumped the gun and just assumed because the rain was there, happening, that this bird didn't show up. That's not valid. That's a logical fallacy. You cannot prove this in any way. The next one. Appeal to emotion. Appeal to emotion is when you attempted to manipulate an emotional response in place of a valid or compelling argument. Now, this one y'all should be highly familiar with. I mean, the fifth grader. The fifth grader. So that's basically what, like, say if I say, man, you're a piece of shit. How can you do that to that little girl? And you're just like, do you understand what that little girl did to me? She ate all of my food. She stole from me. How dare you take up for her? Don't you understand how I feel? That's appealing to emotion, because those are your emotions, bro. You know, that doesn't make what you did right to the little girl, you know? That has nothing to do with me. The fact is, you did something that I disagree with to this little girl, you know? And you're trying to change the argument by using emotion, you know what I'm saying? Instead of a valid argument saying like, hey, listen, yeah, this girl took from me, so I felt like it was fair I should do this or I should do that, you know? You didn't have key points. You just went all over the place with emotion. That's invalid. That's a logical fallacy, and that's a game. You know, we're on to you, Hassan Campbell. So the next one, the fallacy. You presume that because a claim has been poorly argued or a fallacy has been made, that the claim itself must be wrong. So that's like saying somebody says LeBron James is the best basketball player of all time, and then somebody decides to question, why do you think that? And he doesn't articulate why well enough. You know, it gets shunned down. You know, he just declares it as like that's not true, you know. But if you look at LeBron James' stats, is actually true. You know, he just went based off the argument that this person was trying to make, and the argument wasn't strong, so he declared it, you know, false, like what he's saying false. But that's a lazy way of thinking, because if you looked at the stats instead of just going based off the argument, you know, the argument is not the empirical evidence. The empirical evidence is the stats, you know, that would have proved that LeBron James is one of the best basketball players, you know, whether anybody likes it or not, you know. So that makes it a logical fallacy. You didn't do your due diligence. You went straight off of the argument. You tried to use argument as that person's fact. Let's get to the next one. The slippery slope. A slippery slope is, you said that if we allow A to happen, then Z will eventually happen too. Therefore, A should not happen. So that's like saying, all right, if I put this balloon on the stove, matter of fact, let me put a more like reasonable, you know, I'm not gonna get stupid on y'all like that. Let me actually think of a good example for that. That's like saying, all right, if I drink wine, then I'll eventually get too drunk and I'll end up punching somebody, so I should not drink wine. That could be true, but my empirical evidence is if I drink heavy liquor, there's a stronger possibility it may lead to me punching somebody. Therefore, I should not, you know, drink liquor. So that's why I'm drinking wine. So I could have made a better example with that. I struggle with making examples with that one for some reason, but let me give it another shot. We're not going to stop right there. That's like someone saying, all right, you've been smoking weed your whole life, and they just all of a sudden say, hey, if we continue to let this guy smoke weed, he's going to end up shooting somebody. So I think he shouldn't smoke weed. But empirical evidence shows that you're calm when you smoke weed. You actually smoke weed because it helps with your anxiety. Whatever the case is, whatever the excuse is. So, you know, this person is making an invalid argument with you because, once again, it doesn't have any empirical evidence. This is what makes most of these logical fallacies because they don't have any evidence. It's straight bullshit. They're bullshitting you. You know, they're making up their own data in most of them. All right. So that's my example with that. I know it sucked and I'm sorry. The next one, ad hominem. You attack your opponent's character or personal traits in an attempt to undermine their argument. So basically, that's when, all right, for example, when Hassan Campbell gets mad at you for stating your opinion on something. Say you tell Hassan Campbell, hey, I feel like what you're saying is too volatile. And he just comes out of nowhere and be like, well, your mother sucked. Boop, bop, bop, boo, boo. You're a boop, beep, bop, bop. You know, these are all bleeped out, basically. But he assaults your character. He calls you the B word. He tells you eat Franks. He says that you smoke angel dust. That's an attack on your character to undermine your argument. You know, which is invalid because he could have just used a valid argument with data, you know, or he could have questioned you, like, you know, why do you feel this way? Whatever the case is, you know, he didn't take that route. He just decided to offend you. You know what I'm saying? Which makes this a logical fallacy because, you know, attacking somebody is not empirical evidence in an argument, you know, and the argument can't live off of you attacking somebody. That's just, there's no communication at that point besides violence, you know. So that is a terrible game and it's very weak. So that is a logical fallacy. Now, this one is hard to pronounce. And I know y'all looking at it too. The tu quoque. That's actually how you say tu quoque. You avoided having to engage with criticism by turning it back on the accuser. You answered criticism with criticism, basically. So, for example, that's like if you know what I'm saying, like, yo, bro, why would you leave the fork on the sink like that, man? Like, why would you just do that? You're like, but you do it all the time. I don't say anything when you leave the fork on the thing, whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's just like it's similar to the blame game, but it's not. It's just like, you just answered me with your own criticism, you know, which is the same thing, you know, to justify what you did as being right. But the whole actuality of the situation is I'm confronting you about what you did. We're not talking about me. The premise is me talking about what you did in the situation. The empirical evidence shows right now, presently, that there's a fork right there. And you're denying this by talking about something in the past that no longer exists, you know? Like me leaving the fork. All right, what if I haven't been leaving the fork, you know? You just decided to guard yourself with criticism, you know, anti-criticism, basically, a counter criticism, you know, for better wording. So that is a logical fallacy because you could have just handled the situation different. Like, all right, I will not do that again. You know, I did leave the fork right there. I'm not going to do that again so I can hear this shit. End of story. Next one, personal incredulity. Because you found something difficult to understand or are unaware of how it works, you made it out like it's probably not true. Now this shit, man, this right here, this is common. This is real common. And I don't really need to make an example, but I'm gonna do it anyway. So that's basically like if I said, oh, there's coumarin in mostly, you know, most colognes or something, right? And you don't even know what coumarin is. So And then I'll tell you like, oh, it's whatever, like an ingredient in rat poison or something, whatever. And you just don't understand that, and you're just like, there's no rat poison in this. This is not in there, man. Like I don't think that's true, bro. You just negate the whole thing instead of looking at the ingredient list and seeing, and then going to take that word and look it up on Google and see what it's linked to. You just pretty much just denied the whole argument and said it's not true. That's a logical fallacy because you didn't do your due diligence on what the person said. You just negated it. You just said it's not true because you don't know what it is, basically. You don't understand it. You wasn't aware of it. You don't know how it works either, obviously, because you just don't know anything about it. So, yeah. Next one. Special pleading. You moved the goalpost or made up an exception when your claim was shown to be false. Can I get a 5th grader? That's Hassan Campbell that I'm talking about. So basically, this is when say for instance, like I have to use Hassan Campbell as an example. When he says that he's a leader, right? Or when he called himself Malcolm X, whatever the case is, when people decided to confront him on that, he was like, oh, I'm taking care of my kids. Y'all need to learn how to lead your own, whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's like you moved the goalpost. You moved the goalpost because it's like you said that you were a leader. Now when somebody confronts you, now you make some type of excuse, it just doesn't make sense. But I'm going to give a better example because I ain't like that one either. If somebody asks you, hey, I thought you were going to throw this basketball game today. You're just like, oh, I don't know right now because I actually broke my leg. When my leg gets better, maybe I can do it, but I can't do it right now. Now, whatever his leg heal, whatever the case is, hey, last week you said you were gonna throw the game today. So what's going on? Oh, I actually don't feel good. Blah 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 blah. You're moving the goalpost. You're moving the goalpost because it's like people are confronting you about a date that you're giving, and the date is false because you're not actually doing what you're saying you're gonna do. You keep changing the date, making an excuse. You're moving the goalpost. You're not living what you're saying you're gonna do. What you're never gonna throw the basketball game, whatever the game is. I just said you're never gonna do it because you keep making excuses when the day comes of you, hosting these games, whatever the case is. So it's a logical fallacy. You're being lazy. There's no empirical evidence that you're gonna host this game. You keep moving the goalpost. Next one. Loaded question. You asked a question with a presumption built into it so that it could be answered without appearing guilty. Now this one smokes a lot of people on YouTube. A lot of that. This is like, all right. For example, if somebody asks you, hey, so how can I say this? Oh, hey, so I heard that you were feeding your grandfather pork chops, and he died from a heart attack. Do you think you're the reason for that? Now that sucks, because it would be hard to, you would actually just get upset at that, because that's just a loaded question is real dangerous, man. A lot of people that is the primary thing that pisses people off, and because there's a presumption built into it. He basically said that you killed your grandfather with pork chops. So And pork chops can cause a heart attack. You know, the oil, because you know pork is bad for you. Like, so that all of that is going to be going through your head, instead of the fact that you know, this one, this is a hard one to get out of, because there's really no empirical evidence in it either. It's just you gotta be prepared for when that happens to you. You know, that's because you got people who's nasty at this shit. So just watch out for that one. I can't even really, you know, I could just give you the example, but a lot of times I got caught slipping with that, and it's hard to defend against that. So, and if anybody, you know, knows about logical fallacies and stuff and is familiar with the loaded question and has a defense against that, please drop it in the comment section, because us minorities need that, because that is the main thing that gets us angry when we get hit with those. All right, so the next one is burden of proof. You said that the burden of proof lies not with the person making the claim, but with someone else to disprove. I have to reread that because that kind of threw me off. You said that the burden of proof lies not with the person making the claim. Oh, okay, so that's basically my fault, because I didn't remember that one. But that's basically saying like say if somebody says, yo, the moon is yellow, and you know, you decide to say it's yellow, so how is it yellow? Where's the proof? And they be like, oh no, yo, this girl Tamika told me that, man. Like, you know, when she come around, I'll let you know. But I'm telling you, son, like, the shit is yellow. Logical fallacy, because you didn't have the empirical data, the empirical evidence right there on deck to substantiate your claim, therefore making your argument invalid. You lose. That's a logical fallacy. Next one, ambiguity. You use the double meaning or ambiguity of language to mislead or misrepresent the truth.